You guys let me know when you're rolling.
Hi, everybody.
Morning.
Wow, everybody's everywhere.
Sir, tell us about the reason for this.
Sure.
What's going on this morning?
As I travel around the state, I have law enforcement agencies who tell me that they are using the Naloxone. And sometimes when I talk to local agencies, they tell me that they don't carry it, and they have always some reason that they don't want to carry it. We're saving in this state an awful lot of lives. EMS is doing a great job, but we think it's important for law enforcement to also carry the Naloxone. You may have a rural county, for example, just because of where the car was, that the sheriff's deputy will get there before the EMS squad gets there. And so you don't want to be in a situation where a law enforcement officer responds, he's there, she's there, and the person is, overdosed, and they don't have the opportunity to actually use the Naloxone. So, I wouldn't want any law enforcement officer to be in the position of doing that and knowing that he or she possibly could have saved a life, but because the policy of the department was not to carry it. So what we're doing in here is just, contacting the departments. We're helping them understand, where they can get the Naloxone. And then in some cases, they're not going to have really any cost for this, depending on what's going on locally. And so we're answering questions, and it's working very well. Do you want to add anything to what we're doing here?
Tracy Plouck, the director of the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. We were fortunate that this biennium we have some resources, $500,000 a year, to help connect first responders with Naloxone to the extent that they're not using it today, or even if they need to replenish their supply. So I think that's a really important step forward, and really appreciate the engagement of the Attorney General on this issue to help do such concentrated outreach to law enforcement on this really important issue.
No, it's a great partnership, and we work very closely on this issue. When we look at the heroin deaths, and excuse me, we look at heroin deaths, but we also look at all the opiate deaths. We don't know what the new numbers are going to be, but I will guarantee you the deaths would be much, much higher if it wasn't for the extended use of Naloxone. We did a conference a few weeks ago where we had about 1,000 people there. We had two young ladies. One had been brought back, literally brought back from death 3 times, one 2 times. And the good news was, not only had they been brought back, but they're now sober. And I think each one of them was sober for over a year. So I understand there's some skepticism, and some people say, well, why do we keep bringing people back that continue to use the drugs? And the reality is, yes, that's true in some cases, and maybe true in many cases, but there also are people who are being saved who today are sober. They're going to be able to live their life out. They may have another 60 or 70 years to live. They may have children, and that's all because the Naloxone was available and it was used by that local EMS, or that was used by that local police department. So it's a matter of saving lives. I think it's the right thing to do. We're just trying to assist local law enforcement and give them more information about this.
So if you want this in the hands of EMS, firefighters, deputies out there, and there are resources to provide it on the cheap, what's the holdup? Why don't they offer it?
I think you'd have to ask those individual departments,
But there's a policy?
Well, somebody has made the decision that they're not going to carry it. Some of the reasons we're giving is they don't want legal liability. Quite candidly, I would not want to be a department where everybody else around me is using Naloxone. I'm the only one that's not using it, and someone dies. I mean, I would not want to be in that position. So, we don't think that the reasons that are given are great reasons, but they have the right to, under our system in Ohio. We have local government, we have local police departments, and 88 sheriffs, and they have the right to make that decision. We also have the right to call them up and urge them to do it.
Do you know how many are?
I don't know the numbers. No.
Is liability a legitimate concern for a department, though? What's their legal consequence to using this?
Look, I'm not their lawyer. You know, they have their own lawyers. I hesitate to give them any kind of legal advice. Look, we don't think that there is any liability, really, problem in carrying it. You know, we provide a course, not a course, but we provide instructions. They can go up online and get those instructions, how to do it. Frankly, it's not very complicated. You know, it is not something that you have to be a nurse or you have to even be EMS to use it. I mean, as you know, we have several pharmaceutical companies, pharmacies in the state, chains that have already made this available for people who just literally walk in, and they give them, you know, for family members, they give them a little instruction, but it's not a, you know, it's not a very complicated process.
How did the idea?
The other thing, I understand, you may want to jump in here on this, but my understanding is that, you know, if the person is not overdosed, and if there's something else wrong with them, that this is a fairly benign drug. This is not something that's we're worried about misdiagnosing it, and that's going to cause a problem.
Yeah, naloxone has no addictive qualities, and it's administered, and the person ultimately is not struggling with an opioid overdose at the time. There isn't any long-term effect on them. But it does have the effect of reversing an overdose if they are indeed overdosing from heroin or prescription drugs.
So there doesn't seem to be really any downside to using it that we're aware of. You know, if you use it and it doesn't do any good, or if you use it and the person has another problem, it's, you know, it's rather benign, and we don't think there's a problem with it.
Is this drug available only for law enforcement and EMS, or can the public use it? Or
well, the drug, as you remember, we have had several pharmaceutical companies in the state who are already saying and that they have it in the store. You can go in if you're a family member and buy it. They'll give you little instructions, but it's available over the counter through for the private citizens who have family members.
And there are also approximately 36 Project On sites, is that
right? So I'm Mary Diori, the medical director for the Ohio Department of Health. The Project On sites are sites where individuals can go and get the naloxone, as well as get connected to treatment programs and get you know, other connections as need be for additional health monitoring. And I would say that the legislation that was signed that allowed for individuals to be able to go into pharmacies is a great life-saving measures as well. And there are a lot of pharmacies. You can go to the Ohio Board of Pharmacy website and see all the pharmacies that are listed where individuals can go in and pick up naloxone without a prescription under the guise of a physician standing order at that pharmacy for loved ones, family, and friends.
I'm Rick Hodges, Director of the Ohio Department of Health. I think it's really important. We appreciate the Attorney General's leadership in this effort and the partnership that he's forged with us. And it complements what the government is making naloxone available, readily available through local health departments or pharmacies, and of course now with the big emphasis on law enforcement. And it's a miracle cure, but it's only a temporary miracle cure. You still have to get people to an emergency room quickly.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have a question. So how did the idea come about to use the phone bank to promote this program?
Well, frankly, at least from our end, it came about because, you know, we meet and talk about what else we can be doing, and you know, when my staff told me that we still have some police departments that are not doing it, you know, it's just a question of, well, what else can we do? As well as, okay, what else can we do here? And we came up with the idea to do this and to kind of hit it quickly and you know, make another effort.
So who's being recruited to do the phone bank, and how are they being compensated, or are they volunteers?
No, they're volunteers. You want to go through that?
Yeah, we have folks from our
Question,
office.
who is here?
So from our office, officer with the Dublin Police Department is here, folks with the Department of Health, also mental health and addiction services. Buckeye State Sheriff as well. Buckeye State Sheriff.